2003 saw the release of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne on the PlayStation 2. The game itself was met with critical acclaim from both consumers and reviewers alike, being deemed a worthy successor to the amazing Shin Megami Tensei 2, released back on March 18th, 1994, almost 10 years prior. If you've watched my video on Nocturne already, you know that I think it's a beautiful, well-crafted gem of the PS2 era, being one of the best JRPGs of all time. So obviously, the game ended up being considered a complete financial failure. Unlucky. Selling 180,000 copies in the first week, things seemed really good, but eventually sales by the week decreased until the game sold a measly 245,000 copies, falling short of the 350,000 copies expected. Looking solely at sales numbers, it was growing more and more clear that interest in Megami Tensei spin-offs were towering over the dwindling interest of the mainline franchise. With the release of Persona 3, Digital Devil Saga, and Devil Summoner Raido Kuzunoha vs. the Soulless Army, mainline SMT would take a backseat to the ever-growing spin-off series the franchise produced to, fairly respectable success. But it would be over 10 years until we would see another numbered title in the mainline Shin Megami Tensei series. Shin Megami Tensei 4 released May 23, 2013 for the Nintendo 3DS. This was the first mainline Shin Megami Tensei game to be made without Koji Okada, Shoji Meguro, or even Katsura Hishino, some of the SMT OGs if you will. The game is based off of a loose scenario that was actually written by Kazuma Kaneko and later adapted by Kazuyuki Yamai, who's been working behind the scenes on Megami Tensei games for years, SMT Nocturne, Strange Journey, Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, and most recently, no. Masayuki Doi would take the place of Kazuma Kaneko for head character designer, and the character designs ain't the worst, you know what I'm saying, but it doesn't really have that Kazuma Kaneko charm, you feel me? It looks fine, sure, but it doesn't really scream Shin Megami Tensei to me. But to be fair, I really couldn't see Kaneko artwork in these kind of environments anyway. One of the biggest changes in this game is the opening setting of the Eastern Kingdom of Mikado, a late 1400s European-style kingdom wherein you take the role as a samurai, a warrior tasked with quelling the demons that patrol the depths of Naraku, eventually exploring to the deepest stratums to find out in a twist that there's a dystopian modern-day Tokyo beneath the entirety of Mikado. The majority of the game takes place in Tokyo anyways, so otherwise it's a completely faithful SMT game, in line with the games before it. But anyway, this fucking game, dog. I have no words for how masterful this game is, you know? There's genuinely no way I can possibly explain how amazing SMT4 is. So obviously I'm gonna try and explain how amazing SMT4 is. If Nocturne made me fall in love with video games all over again, then Shin Megami Tensei 4 really showed me the apex of what video games can achieve. I've never really played a game before with such amazing world building, gameplay, music, and atmosphere. So to try and showcase how great this game is, I'm gonna, again, chop this shit up into different segments, you feel me? But I'm not gonna list them all off right now to keep the suspense, you know what I'm saying? But I guess it's not really suspenseful because you're gonna see them right away. JRPGs are fucking boring. They're really boring. Really, really boring. Something about slow, turn-based combat for hours and hours on end just doesn't appeal to me at all. I know that's considered somewhat of a hot take. There's seriously nothing worse than feeling like you're uninvolved in the actual combat of a game as you sit there and watch shit play out. Most RPGs fall under this great and fun battle system of choose an action and watch it happen and wait until it's time to pick another action again, and then you do that again. Sometimes there's rolling HP. Point being is that the JRPG formula of normal-ass, boring-ass, turn-based-ass combat hasn't really changed much since the old NES days. But what I neglected to mention in my Nocturne video is that the gameplay is another aspect that makes modern Shin Megami Tensei stand out as something unique to a market flooded with generic JRPGs. The press turn battle system is a play on tradition that really makes you feel engaged with a genre where the gameplay can typically take you out of the experience. And I honestly think none of these games would be nearly as good without it. The general idea is that you're given one turn per member in your party. Hitting enemy weaknesses or landing critical hits will, instead of expending one whole turn, will cut said turn in half, meaning if you play your cards right, you can essentially double your turn count. It's a mechanic that's smart, it innovates, but doesn't deviate from the known formula way too much. It's just fucking cool as shit, dog. It's fast-paced, engaging, and just genuinely fun, and Shin Megami Tensei 4 really showcases just how much you can squeeze out of it, with undoubtedly one of the best boss fights in video game history. Alright, so before we hop into that, we need some context on what makes this guy so great. So the intro to SMT4 takes place in the Eastern Kingdom of Mikado, and it really does a good job of being a tutorial without being a blatant tutorial. It teaches you about demons, negotiation, mapping. The best part is that you never feel like the game is holding your hand during this opening. It does a really good job of teaching while letting you make your own mistakes and learn at your own pace. But most importantly, Shin Megami Tensei 4 teaches how you, as the player, can really utilize the battle mechanics to make this game your bitch. And it teaches you all this by curb stomping your ass into the ground until your lower jaw turns into dust. And it does this all in its very first boss fight.
Over 1,500 years have passed since I formed a pact with my master.
You'll be like level 11 or 12 when you reach this segment of the game, with rumor of this mysterious black samurai doing some evil-ass shit around the kingdom. You're tasked with exploring the land of the unclean ones to find them. Getting to the bottom of Naraku, you're met with this big-ass door and a message engraved into the stone.
Those who serve God Almighty, thou shalt not proceed beyond this door.
I don't know about y'all, but those few words really serves to hype up whatever the fuck's beyond that door, you know what I'm saying? And it does its job really well. It opens up this sense of dread and mystery of who or what could be that strong that you're actively encouraged by the will of God to not open that door, you feel me? But then, you walk in, and this big fucking boss is all like,
"You are either truly skilled or fools indeed to ignore his warning. I will dine on your blood that wishes to mingle with the unclean."
and you're like, ah, fuck this guy. I handle all these other guys. I'm like a fucking expert at this game. We won't be that tough.
Holy shit, he's killing all my guys! What the fuck did I do wrong? Everyone is dead!
Come on! This dude's still not dead? Look at that! Look at this shit, now we dead! Oh my fucking goodness! That's a fucking gauntlet! What the fuck were they thinking when they made this fucking boss?
The Minotaur hits like a fucking truck the first time playing. You think you're prepared, but then you just get your whole shit rocked. Something I neglected to mention earlier is that sometimes when you get a press turn, you'll fall into a smirking state, signified by this symbol here. Smirking doubles your next attack's damage, makes any physical attack a guaranteed crit, and also makes the enemy attacks have a higher chance of just straight up missing. And the Minotaur crits all the damn time, meaning he will smirk all the damn time.
Let him fuck this boss die. This boss is so annoying. Look at it! Miss! Miss! You ain't supposed to miss! I'm about to quit this game! I'm about to quit! I'm about to toss this shit out of my DS and into the garbage can right now. This don't make no fucking sense.
It just don't seem fair, right? Like, how the fuck you supposed to be something like that? But then, you notice that man's weak to ice skills, and you already learned that you can transfer skills to new demons during fusion. This angel learns a defensive buff, and so does this knocker along with some ice skills. So you start thinking, if I just bulk up and abuse the fuck out of this dude's weakness, I can win, you feel me? And so you fight him again, full team at the ready, and it's like,
Whoa, bitch! How's it feel now, huh? How's it fucking feel? Who's the little bitch now?
I'm the little bitch. Such a triumphant moment that makes you feel like you earned that victory through learning. It's something that forces you to become a smarter and better player, not through arbitrary grinding, but by utilizing the mechanics that was taught to you in the game already. Fusing demons to fight whatever boss might come next is essential in SMT games, and the Minotaur is the perfect platform to teach players how to deal with that in their own way. And it's knowledge that you'll carry with you throughout the entire game too. You'll find yourself using demons whenever you can, transferring along better and better skills, trying to create that perfect demon, learning about elemental fusion, unlocking special fusions until the next thing you know, you have 100 hours logged in the whole dang Cathedral of Shadows alone. And the best part is that none of this ever feels like padding. Everything in this game is made with a distinct purpose, and one of the biggest disservices you can do to a game like SMT4 is to ignore all the well-crafted content and mechanics laid out to you. Which reminds me, a lot of criticism towards this game when it came out focused on the poorly designed map, being coined as large, confusing, and easy to get lost in. And I gotta say, that's what makes Tokyo so great, baby. I originally wanted to title this segment Getting Lost or Exploring Tokyo because I personally feel that everything in this map was perfectly designed to subtly feed you information as you play. That wondrous feeling of exploration really allows you to sink into the world of SMT4, and there's so much life put into the world map and so much to discover. I'm still discovering new shit to this day. The criticism of the world map being easy to get lost in my eyes, ain't a negative at all. You'll find yourself exploring the map and finding landmarks and making mental notes of where things are. In your exploration, maybe you'll stumble across a demon domain with a boss holding a special item that links to a side quest that you didn't even know existed yet. I equate the Tokyo map to finding hidden pathways in a racing game, or maybe finding a secret level in your favorite platformer. Well, you can walk that normal path and just continue with the story, which, being completely real, is not that confusing to do. The path in SMT4 is laid out pretty straight. Taking the time to explore really serves to make the world you're in feel alive. There's something new around every corner, you feel me? And nothing quite captures that sense of grandeur and wonder than stepping out into Tokyo for the first time and hearing that beautiful world map music. I remember when I first played this game, I was just in Tokyo trying to find the Black Samurai, and I stumbled north to find that there's a force field blocking this place called Ikebukuro. A woman there tells me that I need something called the G-Ray Talisman to take it down, so I leave, not having no business there. And I find myself in Shinjuku. This bitch named Hikaru tells me of a bookstore in Ikebukuro where the Black Samurai might be. I already learnt where that is, so I dome the info and move on. A man in Shinjuku says he's blocking off a section of the district because of the demon who's taking over the Metropolitan Government Office. And in exchange for getting rid of him, he says he can give me the G-Ray Talisman as a reward, and that shit just starts falling into place. You see my point? You're never truly lost in SMT4. There are very clear places to go and things to do that are laid out very simply to you. Everything else you discover just adds to the world and serves to make it feel more vibrant and full. So that shit totally is. Another criticism lobbed at the game is that the characters really feel flat, and that's not really an issue at all, because the SMT franchise as a whole has never been a character-focused series. This game in particular is one that focuses less on the individual characters and more on the world itself and how it affects those around you. It's said in the earliest parts of the game that,
I say lesson, but that's making more of it than it is. I'll teach you the trick to enjoying life as a samurai. There are quests besides your official missions that get jotted down here. You can try your hand at these quests on your own time whenever you want. Everyone calls them challenge quests. Life gets dull quickly if all you do each day is head into Naraku and fight demons.
and honestly, I agree. Side quests give a purpose to the sheer size of Tokyo, and helping people out, learning about its inhabitants, really being a part of the world you're in, does a lot to, again, make SMT4's universe really feel alive. Outside of the small few people who reckon you as angels when you first drop into Tokyo, you're treated like any other run-of-the-mill hunter. You take quests, make deliveries, you fight demons, you help your fellow humans out. You experience what it's like to be just another hunter. You see the horrific reality of watching people fall victim to demons. You struggle like they do. You experience the grief that they do. NPCs actually have worthwhile things to say. There's a child in Shibuya who says it's useless to kidnap him because his family could never afford that ransom money anyways. There are people who speak about how they'd imagine the sun to look like, having never seen it themselves. A woman covets the idea that people used to diet back in the day because it implies that food was never a luxury before. These people's outlook on life really sells the sheer hopelessness that they've lived in every single day for the past 25 years. But exploring the world is fun. You feel like you're a real cog in this well-oiled machine. It's exciting and engaging. There's always some new challenge on the horizon for you to take on, a new area to discover, a new demon to meet. In doing so, the once large and overwhelming Tokyo starts to feel like home, and exploring becomes exciting rather than confusing. And coupled with it is the fact that almost every quest has a unique side story, so no two ever feel the same. It doesn't become a chore, it becomes something to look forward to, with its own unique story arcs and some amazing ass music that sells that energetic feeling of fun and exhilaration that comes with being a demon hunter. Oh, and by the way, we're talking about the music now. Can I get a title card, please? Thanks, please. Even outside challenge quests, the music itself really helps set the scene for wherever you're at. Being 100% honest, I love the SMT4 soundtrack way more than I do any Shoji Meguro composed Megaten game. The dark, gritty, dystopian soundtrack really pushes that idea that Tokyo's not a safe place to be. Demons can sprawl from any corner. Even the themes of the underground districts feel alive. In a place where you would otherwise expect to be entirely safe, the music feels like you can almost hear the bustling of demons outside the walls of wherever you're at. Juxtapose that sense of encroaching danger with the high-energy battle themes that serve to electrify the gameplay, making it feel more fast-paced, more dangerous, something that keeps you on your toes the entire time playing. Made even better with the game's use of over 18 unique battle themes, spanning literally almost an hour of SMT4's original soundtrack. Safe to say that this game is bound to have something that fits your taste and will stay fresh with the sheer volume of bangers this game's got on deck. And while we're on the topic of battle music, I want to rewind back to the Minotaur for a second. You know, up until his fight, the game has led you to believe that this is what the boss music sounded like. Which is a good boss theme. It sounds intimidating, but also has that sense of lightness that makes it feel like an earnest challenge. So again, when you reach the Minotaur, you're under the impression that it's gonna act out like every other boss fight so far. So when it opens up with this this horribly intense, unrelenting, heavy, and oppressive battle theme, it subverts your motherfucking expectations and lets you know that this Doom means business. This is a trend that permeates through a lot of the boss battle themes as well, except for two notable songs that I'm gonna cover later. This is something I'm down for, you know? The worst thing a game can do is feel stale, especially in JRPGs when you're essentially listening to the same 2 to 3 songs for the whole experience. The music can tend to lose its value since it's spread so thinly, but SMT4 greets you with a vibrant list of songs that pump you up and make you feel excited for whatever you're doing. Or, you know, it can serve as a means to really show how imposing the world you're in truly is. The final boss music in this game is some real killer shit. Probably some of the best joints in the game if I'm being real. Everything I mentioned about the boss music before is just amped up to some intense ass level. It's low-key scary. Not in the sense that you're gonna like jump out of your skin, but it's like that subtle scary where you get into that groove and you start focusing a little harder on the game. You clench the sides of your controller that much more, hit the buttons a little more carefully. Things get so intense that you could swear you could hear your heart pounding if you listen closely enough. Yeah, so can I remind y'all that this game is on the motherfucking 3DS, the Nintendo 3DS. Like, I bought this joint for Animal Crossing and Mario Kart. It's this guttural feeling of piss your pants intense that makes these songs bump so fucking hard. It makes you feel insignificant. It makes you feel like this dude is on some real shit. God, the atmosphere of this fucking game is just... oh my god. Does it seem like I'm having a hard time trying to put these pieces together? You know, it's because I am. You know, the best thing about SMT4 is that every single aspect of the game shines through because everything works so well together. You know, the music complements the gameplay complements the world helps complement, you know, the entire package. But if there's one aspect of SMT4 that I believe stands out above all this other amazing shit, it's the game's constant sense of dread and heartbreak. The SMT franchise has been untruthfully branded as a pseudo-horror JRPG franchise by a bunch of people who got no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Nothing about the previous SMT games have overtly existed to scare a player or to instill a sense of horror. You know, at the most, the environments in each game could be seen as eerie or dark. SMT4, however, is one of the first games that really pulled off a constant sense of anxiety with the way it hits hard with its dark environments and tone. Oh god, I don't know where the fuck to start. The music, of course, bro. I've already mentioned how the music serves to make you feel like the world you're in is alive and dangerous, but some special tracks really emanate tension like it's nobody's business. God, couple this shit with the fact that in some areas demons can jump out of holes in the floor or drop from the ceiling, or you can get caught in these traps while a group of demons just ambush you. There's very little downtime when you're in the overworld, since you can pretty much get your ass beaten anywhere from any direction. Honestly, there's just so much more I could cover, but being real, I'm just trying to distract myself from the main reason why I think this game was just so memorable for me. Shin Megami Tensei 4 is fun, it's engaging, it's smart and challenging, but it's also really, really fucking sad. Everything about SMT4's climax serves to just beat you down and make you feel like dirt, and even long after the game is over, you'll have a hard-ass time forgetting just what you did. There's no better example than the one mandatory boss fight in both the Law and Chaos paths of this game.
I've been waiting for you. We meet again. It's just as Jonathan said. You intend to storm the Eastern Kingdom of Mikado, no?
Isabeau is a character that's introduced at the very start of the game. Being apprentice samurai just as you are, she trained with you, traveled to Tokyo with you, essentially experienced most of the same things that you have, so it really means a lot just seeing her stand before you now. There's no demonic force behind her, there's no corruption, just her trying her hardest to stand up for what she believes in, by trying to stop you from doing whatever you're about to do. It speaks volumes about her character that she's willing to put aside her feelings and fight for what she thinks is right, stopping the mass genocide of Tokyo, or stopping the catalyst of a never-ending war of succession.
I'm quite serious about this. This is a solemn bout between samurai. There is no need to treat me with kid gloves. We begin.
And her fight is one that hits the hardest with that sense of dread and misery that I mentioned before. I never brought this up, but during boss fights, the enemy can present you with questions, and depending on your answer, it could either help or hurt you in the fight. The questions Isabeau brings up really do make you start reconsidering your objective and actions up to this point of the game. Do I really believe that committing genocide for the sake of my people is right? Do I really think that starting an everlasting war between gods and demons would be forgiven? And what I hate is that the correct answers are the most brainwashed ass ones of the group. And what I hate even more is the way you can hear how that shit really disturbs Isabeau.
There is something I must know from you. What you are about to do is an act of genocide upon the people of Tokyo. Do you truly believe that such an act will be forgiven? What? Are you saying that you feel no remorse for the wholesale slaughter of the people of Tokyo? Have you no human feeling left in you?
What's worse is that these are things that you as a real-ass person just can't justify. You know that this shit crazy, but you've come this far and you're locked onto whatever path you put yourself on. It just fucking sucks, dog. But you gotta beat her if you want to move on with the game. And what happens when you do, combined with this somber-ass battle music, is just something that still shakes me to my core, even to this day.
Move! I must! I will not let your hands be stained. At least my last choice will be my own.
It's just so real, you know? It's not like other games where it shoves the weight of what happened in your face. It sits there, and it lets you take it however you'd like. It's just something that makes you feel bad, because Isabeau is, idealistically, the character you could relate with the most up until this point. She was indecisive, she lacked conviction, she was ultimately scared and confused when presented with these sudden monistic extremes of law or chaos. It's the same way most of us would realistically react in such a situation. She even says this in the middle of a fight.
I thought that I had grown as well. But it seems that in this too, you have surpassed me. I wish that I could have remained at your side forever. But I will end this here. I hope that you are prepared.
That's a fucking character, dog. It's this obnoxious-ass trope in any kind of storytelling that the female protagonist is just supposed to magically fall in love with the main character, like to the point where some games just say, fuck it, everybody in love with the main character. But the fact that Isabeau feels some type of way about your character, but still decides to fight a losing battle for what she thinks is right, makes her a real-ass character. and it's crushing seeing what happens to her. But you know, there's one more part of SMT4 that will always stick with me, and in my mind is the most memorable aspect of this game. Around the halfway mark of the story, events in the game lead you inexorably here, the Yamato Perpetual Reactor. The reactor is a rift between the human and demon world, and on its activation, you're pulled into it and end up in this white space, where these beings begin to ask you some shit like if you've ever questioned your existence, and to show the futility of fighting the way of law and chaos, they send you to two future Tokyos. One completely decimated, lifeless, barren to the point where it's unsettling, the other being unstable, engulfed in flames, where demons rule over the world entirely and humans act as their slaves. Their goal is to show you that all your choices in the game so far have been asinine. Regardless of your struggles, suffering is inevitable, and the best way to end the cycle of suffering is to end the world entirely. And you know, typically on your first playthrough, you see all this and go, nah, fuck these guys, I'ma keep playing though. So you tell them to bounce and keep playing.
If left unchecked, the sons of man will only murder each other. What they secretly dream of is a new king. Will you rise to rule them?
And then you play the game again.
The voices of the people cultivating the land, raising children, and finding joy in their families. They will echo through the eastern kingdom of Mikado today and into tomorrow.
And then you play the game again.
Thanks.
And you start to notice that Blasted Tokyo, a world where one wishes to preserve the status quo, is the law ending. Infernal Tokyo, a world where the old order of things was changed and ultimately taken over, is the chaos ending. References to dreams where you side with either Walter or Jonathan to make these worlds a reality start making more sense. What were thought to be inconsistencies in the plot turn out to be in reference to past playthroughs. When you beat the game, you're given the option to play the game again with the New Game Plus feature of reincarnation or new life. Repeated playthroughs are called cycles, and it all goes back to the name of the game, Shin Megami Tensei, True Metempsychosis of the Goddess. Metempsychosis is the never-ending cycle of life and death, also known as the cycle of suffering. What initially made no sense and sounded absurd is now seeming like the only answer. It doesn't matter what ending you get while playing or how many times you play the game. The cycle will never end. You're trapped with experiencing the same grief and misery over and over again unless you decide to break the cycle and return everything to nothing.
Now, Messiah, lead us to nothingness.
This encounter is a little unusual. I'll be supporting you. I get the feeling this is where we part ways, Master.
The final boss of the White Ending is the Yamato Perpetual Reactor. The objective is to destroy its safeguards and create a black hole by making the machine go berserk, swallowing the entire world. There's no reaction, there's no fight back, there's just a machine that sits there until its inevitable destruction. The music in the background is equal parts haunting yet sad, and even the AI Burroughs that's been your navigator the entire game seems like she's almost begging you to stop.
The target's damages are over 75%. Master, you do understand what will happen once the control device is destroyed, right? Of course. Sorry. There's no way you would be doing this if you didn't understand the consequences. I'll back you up to the very end, so follow through on the path you chose.
But the part that really digs the most is the fact that, unlike the Law and Chaos endings, you don't feel like you were tricked into committing some awful act. You don't feel any sense of regret for what you're doing. This is your choice, and this is what you think is right. And there's nobody to stop you either. That feeling of hopelessness that this ending emanates is contrasted by the fact that the White themselves are practically praising you for giving them oblivion, ending the cycle of suffering. You know, some people see this as the bad ending, one that ends the game early, or the quitter's way out of making the tough choices the game presents. But honestly, breaking this cycle, no matter how much I'm sacrificing, freeing the world from all sadness and suffering, I don't see that as a bad ending. I see it as the perfect ending to the perfect video game.
The long and painful journey ends here. Thank you. And goodbye.
You know, I've always said that my favorite kinds of media are the ones that make me feel uncomfortable, scared, sad, the ones that force emotions out of me that I don't typically get to experience normally in my everyday life. I like being challenged, being presented with questions and decisions I typically would never have to make. I love video games that make me feel the wonder of exploration, the feeling of being a substantial part of the world that I'm presented, a game that makes its universe feel real, games that can make me feel like I'm the king of the fucking world, but ones that can rip my heart out at the same time. Ones that I can look back on and remember every single amazing moment that made these games so timeless in my heart. Shin Megami Tensei 4 is my favorite game of all time because of moments like these. It's my favorite game because of how it challenges its audience in a compelling and mature way. It's my favorite game because it had the insane task of being unashamedly SMT in the era where Persona fucking 4 became mainstream. And the crazy part is that it worked. Up until the release of Persona 5, SMT4 was the best-selling game in the entirety of the Megaten franchise, nearing 800,000 copies today. It takes the years of excellence that was built upon by Atlus and the SMT brand and turns that bitch up to 11. It's a showcase of what JRPGs can really be, and talking about it, sharing it with other people, what this game has done for me just gets me every goddamn time. It's strange how a game like SMT4 can manage to be so real, one of the most human games that I've ever played in a long time. Yet at the same time, it does such a great job in selling its nihilistic themes. It's almost too real in its bleak and dark setting. But you know, it never dwells on that melancholic feeling. It showcases that even if the world we're in feels oppressive, scary, or even hopeless, it's our responsibility as humans to keep moving forward and never stop struggling. Every time I come back to SMT4, something about it gets a little bit better. And it's because of these amazing pieces of media that I want to become better, so that maybe one day I have the chance to create something better that moves people in the way that I've been moved by the video games that have shaped me into who I am today. And it's why Shin Megami Tensei 4 remains in my mind an absolute masterpiece.